At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Live at lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Snow Seafood Steak on Airline Highway at 74 in Gonzales. Welcome to the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I'm Charles Hannegriff. Max Gotro has the day off. Jimmy's not with us today. Well, we're joined by WBRZ's Michael Cobble. Mike, good to see you, man. Thanks for coming out. We put the show on YouTube towards the end of last year, and that was great because now Mike will come out and do the show with us. He refused to do the show on his radio only because he's a TV guy. Got
to get the FaceTime.
Yeah, of course that's not true, but man, good to see you. How you been?
Good, doing well. This is funny. This is the first time I've been back in Snows. I came for a wedding reception one time.
Yeah,
and they almost set the place on fire because they had real candles. And somebody leaned over with their corsage or whatever and caught the table on fire. And I actually had to pour it out with glasses of iced tea. So
they appreciated that.
Yeah, it's good to be back and flame free. So excited to be here.
Fireman Mike. Okay, I got it. Tell me about. We got a lot to get to. Dwayne Colucci's with us today. Matt Human's with us today. Kenny White's with us out there. The playoffs start tonight in college and the NFL on Saturday. So we got a lot to get to. But I want to. How's your holiday? You were at the Texas Bowl, I believe.
No,
you say you farmed that out.
Yep, let the underlings go. Yeah, I had enough of Houston in the Texas Bowl. Decided to let somebody else experience that for a change. But the holidays were great. Just real low key around here in Baton Rouge, and just stayed in town. New Year's was fine, and then exciting to kind of press on and turn the page, I guess, if you will, from football to basketball, and soon here baseball. It looks like we might be turning a little faster than expected in men's basketball.
Yeah, that's it's going to be a rough go. I feel
that was a gut punch, man. Watching that game and just.
Did you describe? I was going to say basketball, but since you brought it up, was it a gut punch or was it just? I found myself in the second half. I'm like, this is really hard to watch. There's not a lot of oomph here. It's not hitching you giddy up. It
was deflating to me, is what it was, because I had a little bit of hope that things had kind of turned the corner and that they were looking up, and just to see them struggle as mightily as they did, it was disappointing. It was kind of a gut punch because again, you feel like. You want to get behind Matt. You want to get behind the program. And it's hard to do in this town, right? We've both been here long enough. But, it was a struggle. And just kind of gross play is what I really felt. Like I tweeted out, it felt like guys were just playing like a one-on-one. It didn't seem like a team to me.
I mean, I know what I think, and if you listen to this show, you know what I think because I tell you. But what do you think about the program? Because I got some pretty specific thoughts about it. But what do you think about the program? Not the team. We kind of know where they are. What is the program?
What is a program anymore, Charles? With the transfer portal and this.
I have an answer.
Some of them have established identity and they're able to find those pieces. I think for Matt, it's a bit of a flea market. He's just grabbing what's available kind of thing. And you had hoped that they had kind of crossed that threshold and that they weren't there anymore and that they had some identity and that they had some characteristics that they could build upon, but they don't. This program is very much what you can get and let's throw it out there. And it doesn't, it doesn't feel like a team. There's no, to me, team concepts of defense, of rebounding, of effort, of toughness, of grit. There's those things that every coach wants. But it to me, it's just right now still a collection of individuals.
Okay, so I agree with everything that you said. And let me sum it up in one word. You asked, what's a program? I said I have an answer for you. A program is money. In its simplest term, in all of the sports, from football on down, it's about money. It's about fundraising. It's about NIL. I wish it wasn't. I mean, we weren't brought up on that. That's just the way it is, okay? There's a lot of things I wish that we did the way we used to do it, but we don't, okay? I'm on TV every day now, okay? And it's still somewhat uncomfortable for me. But it's about money. It's about how much cash can you raise. And that doesn't just do it, by the way, okay? You can be the New York Mets and spend a whole bunch of money and still be bad. I'm talking about 2 years ago. But if you don't have that, then you're the Pittsburgh Pirates. You may fall backwards into a Paul Skeens here and there, but you don't have enough money to sustain it. And that's what I see when I look at LSU men's basketball. I look at a program that is underfunded. Part of that's on McMahon, part of that's on the university. But they don't have if you look at their roster as compared to the other rosters, not only they're not competing at a championship level, they appear to be, over the last 3 years, to be funded at a bottom quarter of the SEC program. And I'm not just talking about the building, okay? The building is a whole separate issue, but do they have enough money to go out and purchase? Let's call it what it is. It's not recruiting. Yeah. Do you have enough money to go out and purchase a roster? I understand that they can't be the Dodgers where men's basketball is concerned. It'll never drive the train here the way it does at Kentucky. But do you want to be the Pirates pre-Skeens? Okay. Do you want to be at the very bottom? I mean, for them to get better, I don't know that we've scrutinized very many of McMahon's coaching moves, like, why did he put that guy in, or where was the inbounds play, or why are they so sloppy on offense? That's not really the thing. It's mostly you look at him and go, man, that roster's not as good as the rosters they're competing against in this league.
I think he's just fighting an uphill climb that he's not going to win. When you think of it and you just use some analogies of the Dodgers, I mean, you've got the Dodgers in the football team. You've got the Yankees in the baseball team. You've got whomever in the women's basketball team. Most colleges in the SEC don't have that, right? You're talking about South Carolina, who their baseball team probably isn't as competitive or as lucrative as LSU, right? Got a new coach. might be familiar with them, right? Yeah. Their football team certainly doesn't spin at the level of LSU does. So I'll play devil's advocate. Do I want more out of men's basketball? Sure. But if I was Scott Woodward, I could look at you and say, look, man, I've only got so many dollars, and so many of them are now allocated to these things that are driving interest, are getting engagement, are giving an ROI, if you will, and throw gymnastics in there even, right? Like, I mean, you can think of the things that LSU does well. Men's basketball isn't and hasn't been since you were in college, since I was in college. Yeah. And for me, it was the tail end of that deal. It hasn't been relevant. It's had its moments. It's very much like the New Orleans Pelicans, right? It has its moments, and when it does, it's fire, and everybody's on board. But then it quickly wanes and burns out. And I'm just wondering if it's, as you say, the money and the dollars and cents don't make sense to pour into something that has not just a hole in the bucket, but a rather large hole.
So and Woodward may very well be thinking that. I could understand that, okay? Don't agree with it necessarily, but at least I understand it. But I would also tell you that some of this falls on the coach. When Van Chancellor left LSU and Nikki Fargas came in to run the women's basketball program, recruiting fell off dramatically. Why? Because the coach didn't hustle it, okay? Same thing with the men. When John Brady left, Trent Johnson inherited a really nice club in 2009, won the league with it. He could coach but had no interest in recruiting. Well, now recruiting's about fundraising. It's not just about going out to high schools and meeting coaches and AAU coaches and parents and all that stuff. It's about fundraising, and that probably is not what Matt McMahon envisioned when he first put a whistle around his neck, was that, his main job would be fundraising. So I'm going to use the women's basketball program. It's not like LSU said, hey, you know what, we're not going to spend any money. They spent plenty of money on a coach. She didn't return that investment, but they spent plenty of money there. They spent plenty of money on travel and schedule and all those things, but she didn't recruit. Okay, so LSU is going to give you that. Now Kim Mulkey is raising a lot of her own money. Now, she's a powerhouse, okay? Not really fair to compare another coach to her. She's one of one. But take Jay Johnson, okay? Jay Johnson had to come in here right as this new era was going in, and nobody knew Jay Johnson. I mean, the baseball diehards knew who he was, but the general fans, they didn't know who Jay Johnson was. And what has the guy done? He's raised a gigantic amount of money to keep the program relevant. He's selling the LSU brand. The baseball brand is much more powerful than the basketball brand. I get it, but the guy never goes home. I mean, he goes home once a week to take a shower and change clothes, and that's it. The rest of the time he's out hustling money and hustling players, and that's what they've got to get to. And he's further burdened by the fact that Louisiana no longer produces the high school players that they once did. 15 years ago, closer to 20 now, I guess, Mike, sorry, for me and you, Glenn Davis and Brandon Bass and the Temples and Tyrus Thomas and Darryl Mitchell and Tasman Mitchell and, all of these guys that were Baton Rouge, South Louisiana. Yeah. You don't have that anymore. There's been one 5-star player here in the last closing in on 10 years, but it's at least 8 with Javonte Smart. And then, the kid from Newman that ended up going to Missouri, signed with Houston. So not only are you at a fundraising disadvantage, but you don't have the fertile recruiting grounds that maybe you once had in Louisiana.
So what can be done, right? And then somebody
raise more money.
I'm pretty sure this is John Brady told me this. If you're not winning, you damn sure better be entertaining.
Yeah.
And this is neither, right? And I think that's where Matt can right the ship. That's where Matt can help his cause. He's not entertaining. He's not energetic. He's not outgoing. He's a damn nice guy.
He is
super personable, but
as far as I know, he's a pretty good basketball mind too. But the rest of it,
how can you tell, right? With the hodgepodge of players that they're kind of cobbling together. Yeah. No, I feel like to your point and to mine, you've got to sell it and you've got to get people energized in it. And that is the one thing that I criticize him for, is not selling it more. I know this is exactly how you wanted to start your Thursday.
It is. I was going to start
right?
with, hey, football's got all these guys coming in and it's all positive. The playoffs are tonight. Well, yeah. Basketball right out of the gate. We're here at Snow's Seafood and Steak. Come on out and see us for lunch. Thursday lunch specials include the chicken piccata, pan-fried chicken breast with a white wine, garlic, and lemon butter sauce. Also the taco salad, which is one of my favorites. It's a very, very large portion of taco seasoned ground beef, mixed greens, corn chips, cheddar cheese, black beans, roasted corn. The works tomorrow, fried barbecue shrimp and grits, and the blackened shrimp citrus salad. We got a ways to go until Lent, okay? Because this is a long carnival season. But Fridays it snows. If you observe Lent, you will not be depriving yourself of very much.
Isn't that always great? Growing up Catholic and you that's when you treated yourself was on the Fridays. When you step out of your normal menu.
Can I have these fried shrimp and make my
Hey, we
sacrifice.
did our penance with filet of fish enough times, though. Right?
Those were terrible. Gosh. So come on by and see us here at Snow's. They've been around since 1971, corner of Airline and 74 in Gonzales. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Brought to you in part today by Total Maintenance, AC and heating, generators, electricity, and plumbing. Total Maintenance, your one-stop sales and service shop for all of those things since 1980. One of South Louisiana's oldest and largest AC and heating companies, and it's always been about service today, every day. You call today, you get service today, so you don't have to go to sleep uncomfortable. Right now, that means cold. Total Maintenance has expanded into New Orleans, full staff in both New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Authorized dealer for Carrier, American Standard, Daykin, and Ream AC units, and Generac and Cummings generators for all your electrical and plumbing needs as well in Baton Rouge, 480-1000. In New Orleans, it's 841-3300. Service today, every day at Total Maintenance. Michael Cobble from WBRZ Channel 2 in with us today. Mike, what do you make of how LSU finished the football season, both the bowl game, which has some benefits to it, but is not the be-all and get-all that it once was, and then their foray into the transfer portal, which has been much more eventful than it was a year ago.
Yeah, certainly, turning the page, I guess, as far as approach goes right there for Brian Kelly. The bowl game, a mixed bag. You're excited about what the offense showed, but you certainly can't overlook what the defense allowed either. So, bowl games are such a just toss up now. It's what kind of roster can you really get convinced to play in the game? So I thought that in itself was promising for Brian Kelly, that he got that many players to commit to play in a bowl game, and so it speaks somewhat to the buy-in that the team still has and the effort that they're willing to put forth. Now, you and I both know that they have to literally pay the guys to do that. That's part of what they're doing. But either way, that's a good sign. I like what they're doing in the portal. I feel like there certainly needs to be more, but overall, I'm disappointed in this season. And Brian said it in his post game. He's like, people are going to say it's disappointing. It's not disappointing. It is disappointing, man. Like, I don't know that this team was any better than last year's team, and we all had those expectations that it was going to be improved, at least defensively. And once again, you have a couple of pieces holding the whole thing together. I was disappointed, and yeah, I think the pressure is definitely on. A lot of people ask me, what if they don't make it next year? Well, if they don't make it next year, then there's so many more people that now have a legitimate gripe with Brian Kelly and his inability to get over the hurdle here, whether it be at Notre Dame or here now at LSU. It's becoming a trend because year 3, and again, we can take our cues from the what they say, what the team says in the preseason. Brian Kelly was talking about this being the most mature team ever, and Will Campbell was talking about running it down people's throats. It didn't materialize, and that is disappointing. And so I can be optimistic about what they're doing and their ability to adjust with the portal and spend the dollars that they have. But again, it just feels like a lot of on-the-job training with this crew, and that's not what you're paying $10 million for.
Here's the biggest takeaway I've got a month, after the regular season is over, is that they have realized that they can't cling, as a lot of people still are, to how it was done in the past. Brian Kelly's been a coach for 40 years. What was it? It was recruit players, develop them, see them all the way through a 5-year career here, try to keep your transfers and keep your culture. You can't do that anymore. You just simply can't. There are going to be too many kids that end up in the transfer portal, and your competition is doing it, okay? You beat Ole Miss this year, but I don't want to say by the grace of God because the rosters weren't terribly lopsided, but Ole Miss is not supposed to be that good. They're that good because they jumped in the transfer portal. And a year ago, Brian Kelly says, we're not in the business of buying players. You better get in it. Yeah. And he realized that. To his credit, Dabo Swinney still hasn't, completely bought in. It's like, I don't want to do this. I don't care. You can do it or you can get out of the game. And a lot of coaches have said, this ain't me. I'm out. And that's fine. Made your money, did you, had your career and you want to retire or go do something else, that's fine. But if you're going to be in this arena, you have to do this. And it's still got this connotation of this is a dirty way of doing this because before, if you bought players, shunned,
openly bought players.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. But it's not like that anymore. And you have to do that. And there has been an effort. It's like, okay, we can do that. We can spend the money because football's too big to fail, right? You can't just let it go and say we're not going to buy players and we're not going to get in the transfer. Nope, you got to do this.
You talked about Jay Johnson, and one of the things that I remember at Rotary, Jay talking about was whether I like it or not, this is what the reality is, and I need to get on board with what this reality is. And I think he has done a great job. Will Wade, even before any of this, obviously became
he started
legal,
the transfer portal stuff earlier.
But I mean, he even talked about it. He said, you're not building a program, you're building a team, and that is really what I think college football will be as well. Now, how many of those pieces can you get to stay? I saw something earlier, I think it was in the Sun Belt, like every one of their first teamers,
all of them,
are on different teams.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like, it's incredible. And, how can you succeed at that level? Obviously, success has a different definition now for those conferences. But just the idea that, yes, you have to go and adapt and you have to spend the money. And Brian said it in one of his pressers this year after the season. He said, I am energized. Some coaches are not. I am energized by that. Now, how much of that was true, we'll find out, right? It's a long race, and you've got to run it every year. But I am excited to see that pivot, if you will, and the idea that we've got the dollars, we've got to spend it. Whether, like you said, Charlie, you and I are both of the get off my lawn, yelling at the clouds generation. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of things that we have to adjust to in the sports world, especially for coaches. When you're making the dollars that you are, it better be a lot quicker of an adjustment, because that is your livelihood. That is how you're going to continue to make those dollars. And it's interesting to see him adjust. Again, how good is he at it? I thought when Brian Kelly came here that he would be perfect for this new era of athlete because he is a millionaire and he is a CEO type figure, and so he deals with accountants and he deals with dollars, and that's kind of his persona, I guess, if you will, right? So I thought he could relate to them as a businessman. You want to be a businessman, you're going to be a millionaire. Let me tell you, like, this is how I can, like Saban's path or blueprint was, I can get you to the league. To me, I thought Brian would be useful in that I can help you as an enterprise, as an individual, because that's what it is right now. You look at Angel Reese and what she's been able to do. Like, I can market you as a person, and your profitability as an individual can increase. I thought he would be more useful in that realm. I haven't seen that per se, and I haven't necessarily seen the football translate like I thought it would. So this year will be extremely important for me, and I feel like a lot of people in their belief in Brian Kelly moving forward. I really feel like it's a precipice. It's either it's going to be like, all right, this guy knows what he's doing, or it's going to justify all those naysayers and get people more on that wagon.
LSU finds the money when they want to.
Amazing, isn't it?
Well, I'm serious. Have they found the money for men's basketball? No. Have they found the money for football? A year ago it was, we can't buy players. We're not going to buy these. These two defensive linemen are too expensive for us, too. No. We're in. Yeah. Okay, we understand what it is now. And it operates. You mentioned those Sun Belt teams. We brought that stat yesterday. This is like, they used to call it, they don't really call it that anymore, the hot stove league in Major League Baseball. All of the GMs would go to the winter meetings, and it was a big swap fest. You would end up with big name free agent signing, but you would also end up with some of the biggest trades. And what you had was the big market teams would, the Pirates would have a guy coming up for free agency, and they would trade him to the Yankees for prospects. It's kind of what it is now. If you were a great prospect for the Pirates and coming up, well, then you trained with the Pirates until you went and signed as a free agent somewhere else. Barry Bonds, did that. Well, now, if you're a great player at Troy or Arkansas State, then you get recruited by Alabama or Texas or Georgia or LSU.
It's a farm system almost.
Yeah, and it works the other way too, because if you're UL Lafayette, okay, what are you going up? You're going to go recruit the high school kids that are maybe at the, not at the top level, but maybe at that next level, and then you're going to go supplement it with the guys that didn't work out at the bigger schools. Right. The Cajuns have two of LSU's highest rated players in the last 4 years on their Walker Howard and Sheldon Sampson. Okay, didn't work out for him here. Maybe it'll work out for him there. So there's the reverse thing too, where hey, listen, it didn't work out for me at the SEC school, but let me see if I can rejuvenate my career
go be a
in
big
the Sun
fish in a
Belt.
smaller pond.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And so it works. It works both ways.
It's leveling out, right? And it is an adjustment period, I think, and we're seeing that to some degree. And it is good that you point out that example too of it working in reverse, as we all expect it to work forward for LSU. Again, though, and this is something that I thought was very interesting that Brian said in this bowl buildup. He said a year ago we couldn't do it because the culture couldn't sustain it, but now he feels better about it. I don't know what's changed. I can
answer that.
Okay.
A year ago, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Harold Perkins, and maybe Garrett Nussmeier, but primarily those three, I would say, were your highest NIL earners, and they were your best players. If you brought somebody else in earning more than them, that was going to upset the apple cart.
Right.
So now you ask, who's the biggest NIL returners on this team?
Garrett.
We'll start with the quarterback,
right.
Okay? Well, they took care of him, okay? Perkins.
So that's what's changed.
Yes.
Again, back to your deal last year, the program is the money.
Right.
And that's all that's really changed. It hasn't been an upgrade in leadership or an upgrade in discipline or anything like that. It's just we're leveling off the cash flow for everyone, so now there's no pissing and moaning, for lack of a better word, in the locker room, and everybody's on an even playing field. That's incredible to me. It's if that's the reality of it, then
when somebody tells me something else that makes sense to me, I'll believe it. But until then, you see All the President's Men. You remember the movie?
Sure.
Okay. Well, for those that never saw it, it was about the Watergate scandal and the undercover source that Woodward and Bernstein had. And the one line that has resonated from that movie from the day it came out on, He told him, the guy's name was Mark Felt. You didn't find it out until he died. He said, follow the money. Mm-hmm. Follow the money. That's the one line that comes out of that, and that's college. Follow the money. Follow the money. It will answer maybe not all, but most of your questions.
It's incredible.
That's where we're. But in the meantime, this roster that they have put together, when you sit down, we did this at a pregame for the bowl game. We did it on the Daily Show the day after that, and it's like, if you go look at this, really look at this, it's like, and they're not done shopping yet, they've got a better quarterback than just about anybody coming back by the numbers. Maybe the one guy you would want over him, and it's a maybe, is the guy he's got to face in the opener, which should be game 2, Verge, if you listen. Anyway, so you start with the best quarterback, right, what I think is going to be the all-conference quarterback, and then you add in the skill position people that they've added, what's coming back, and you look at the depth that they've built, and it's like, this looks like a top 10 roster to me. It may be a top 5 roster to me. And so if you don't, the last 2 years you looked at it like, man, the roster's not where it needs to be. It should be next year.
See, so all right, so I'll play devil's advocate here. Look at that offensive line.
Uh-huh.
Last year that line was loaded. We had great expectations for it. It flopped.
Yeah.
This upcoming season they've supplemented, already. I think they probably need to do a little bit more work. But to me, I have less belief in this offensive line. Getting Garrett back to me was a masterstroke of genius for this coaching staff, because you lost all your receiving yards basically. You lost almost your entire starting offensive line, and you have a young running back who's coming off of an injury, and by the way, your All-American tight end's gone too. So, so he really doesn't have any weapons to work with, and so that's what this portal was about. And everybody talks about and raves about these receiving additions in the portal. But again, to me, it starts and ends with the offensive line. This year, they did not perform as they were expected, or I think to their capabilities, and it hurt this offense. And Garrett was able to succeed in spite of that in large numbers. So that does give you hope. But, man, I don't care what they do. If the offensive line isn't right, that's my concern. And that's why I'm going to be a very big doubting Thomas moving into this 2025 season.
That's fair. First,
a lot of Catholicism in this project.
Yeah. I'll tell you that you've brought 2 linemen in from the portal that have been starters at the P4 level that I think will step right in. I think you'll add at least one more.
You a big fan of Northwestern football, Charlie? You putting a lot of bank on that? That,
not Northwestern.
That's my thing. It's like
I can find 1 or 2 good players just about anywhere.
Okay, so this is you want to know my biggest argument with Brian Kelly is you build your argument on developing champions, right? Where's the development? I challenge you to find somebody that really developed this past season. You could say Trey'Dez Green at the end of the season.
He got better.
Aaron
Anderson had a breakout season. I thought that the 2
did he, or did he just have more targets?
Well, they throw you the ball when you're open. I thought he was healthy this year. Maybe that's the best. I thought both of the freshman defensive tackles contributed more than I thought that they would in Ahmad Bro and Dominique McKinley.
Wouldn't you have liked to see more of them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I thought they got a little bit better. I thought Caleb Durham, who didn't play at all in the opener against Vegas, against USC in Vegas, I thought was a very dependable back by the time you got to the middle of October.
He was amazing when he was healthy.
Yeah, and he also.
But again, I wonder how much of that is development and how much of that is God given. Whit Weeks, I think had some progressions that you could see him getting better. Like there were some lost in the sauce moments early in the season that kind of cleaned themselves up as they fit a little bit more of what they were. But again, Charlie, I think back to this. It was week 4, and Brian was talking about trying to figure out personnel.
Yeah.
And he even said, people are going to wonder, what are we doing in the fall? Yeah, hell yeah, I was. I was right there raising my hand.
And I would give you Savion Jones and Braden Swinson.
Yes.
Jones especially, I thought got a lot better this year. So but it's a reasonable concern, especially where the offensive line is concerned. I was encouraged by what I saw in the bowl game out of what was a makeshift offensive line. So yeah, but here's my deal. Okay. In the last 2 years, he said, well, the roster's not right. Okay, well, can I really blame the coach if the roster's not right? I can blame him for not recruiting. I can blame him for not being in the transfer portal, but I can't really blame him for his on-the-field coaching because he's got a guy in the secondary that can't cover, Ryan Williams.
Or can't tackle.
Yeah, okay. But when you do give him enough roster, and I think he's got plenty roster now, and you don't get it done there, well, then I can blame the coach. See how easy this is?
Yeah, I
agree.
That's why I think this year is pivotal to people
agree with
jumping
that.
in or jumping off.
For sure. We're here at Snow's Seafood and Steak on Airline Highway at 74 in Gonzales. Dwayne Colucci joins us from Las Vegas when we return. Along with Michael Cobble, I'm Charles Hannegriff. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
The Thibodeau store and the Pierre Part store. You know, if you've been putting off some of these home improvement projects, if your New Year's resolution is to get them done, go to the Thibodeau store, the Pierre Part store, and ask for a little bit of help. Because a lot of these projects you can do yourself and save yourself some money. So whether it's a small plumbing project or a small piece of concrete that you got to lay, maybe you're doing some painting or you've got something that needs to be fixed around your house, let them help you out and walk you through step by step. A lot easier when you can ask questions and you're just following a YouTube video. Power tools, hand tools, plumbing and electrical supplies at both stores. Also at the Thibodeau store, huge supply of barbecue pits and grills, huge supply of crawfish pots and jambalaya pots, as well as the big green egg cookers and custom-made cypress furniture. Lots of fishing gear if you're going down to the coast. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. Online, it's ThibodeauStore.com.
It's time. It's now Colucci time. Dwayne Colucci is back to give his best picks on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And return here at Snow's Seafood and Steak on Airline Highway in Gonzales. Charles Hannegriff, Michael Cobble from Channel 2 WBRZ sitting in with us today. And we bring in the one and only Dwayne Colucci. Colucci, how you doing?
Doing well, Hanny. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. A little cold down here, but we're doing all right. I'm ready for some playoff football, college and pro. The next 5 days are going to have some really, really compelling matchups. So you give me kind of an early read on where the action has been throughout the week as we're game day for Penn State and Notre Dame and coming up on the rest of these games.
Yeah, definitely, Charlie. Penn State, Notre Dame, a huge game tonight, starting the week off right. Just an amazing time to be a bookmaker right now with all the football action like you touched upon. And this game, we're seeing some great two-way action, I'll be honest with you. The ticket count is slightly in favor of Notre Dame, but the money is slightly in favor of Penn State. We opened this game at 2.5, and the money has drawn it back down to 1. So right now, Notre Dame at the South Point and the Rampart is -1. Total is 45. Like I said, ticket count in favor of Notre Dame, but the money is what dictates. And that's where we're seeing most of the action on Penn State in this matchup. And, this is a good Final Four, Charlie. I will be honest with you. Some people are surprised, some shockers, but definitely a great Final Four. And then we roll right into tomorrow night with Ohio State -6. No shock there, the way they've been running the table. Even though the game is in Arlington, Texas at the Cotton Bowl, we're seeing Ohio State money. Once again, though, good two-way action in this game, but a little more on the Ohio State side as the ticket count is about 3-1 on Ohio State. But the money is not that significant. Keep that in mind, guys. Even though the ticket count is real high, that's all the, average consumers that are putting their teasers, their parlays, and riding on this Ohio State juggernaut that has been just phenomenal and going really strong. But no flaw in Texas. Texas has the home field and definitely could come up with a big game, Charlie. So I'm anticipating a great, great Final Four. Then naturally Saturday we have the NFL. NFL is king. Even though we got this great college playoff, we're going to see an immense handle on these NFL games. I'll tell you right now. Saturday's matchup heading in, a lot of Los Angeles Charger money, a lot of people rallying behind Los Angeles, not just from a betting standpoint, but just their hearts and families, everybody, caring about the fire situation and what's going on there. And this is another game that's being played in Houston. So, we opened this game at 3. It came off the key number of 3 down to 2.5. Initial reaction was the Sharps pounding on the Texans, but then the money came back real quick, and now the ticket count is 3-1 in favor of the Chargers, and the money is starting to get back up there. You could possibly see us go back to the key number of 3 in this marquee 130 matchup. Pacific time on Saturday. Then the 5 o'clock game, division rivals. What more could you ask for? Ravens at Steelers. People are going to start backing Lamar Jackson now, especially the way the Ravens finished up, as opposed to how the Steelers finished up, who were kind of on a downswing there, Charlie. You got to say, they weren't playing their best football. We opened this game at the Rampart in South Point at 9, bet up to 9.5. Total of 44 in this 5 o'clock Pacific matchup on Saturday. So some excellent football. Plus, we got the games on Sunday, Charlie. I want you to get a few questions in before I go right into the Sunday and go off as well.
Yeah, let me back up before we get to Sunday. Let me get to Thursday. Who do you like tonight? This is kind of a coin flip game. You can see a lot of support on both sides, and I can hear an argument either way. Who do you like?
It's a great game, I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't mind, my friend Jeff Paul's, on the South Point Studio Network. He's sitting with a championship ticket on Notre Dame, and I wouldn't be, upset at all holding on to that. I mean, they played fabulous football since that massive upset, if you want to call it, early in the season. But, this is definitely, it seems like a two-pronged running attack, Penn State and Notre Dame. This is one of the lower totals that you're going to see when you have a Final Four matchup. So 45 we're sitting at on this total. It was bet down from the opener of 47. I could see a defensive struggle in this game. Kind of like Notre Dame, but very slightly here. This is a very, very tough matchup, and the money is coming in, like we said, on Notre Dame as the game went down from 2.5 to 1 at the Rampart in South Point currently. So, I kind of side with the public, but very slightly. This is a very, very good matchup. Very difficult to handicap. The other game, Ohio State was going to merit a lot of attraction on Friday, and we know that. We were prepared for all the teasers and parlays. Even seeing a couple of shops now up north at 6.5 on this game. I could easily see this game going to 6.5, but I don't think we'll get to that key number of 7, especially playing impact.
Let me get to the NFL. The Eagles seem pretty confident that Jalen Hurts is going to play. They're putting out that he's very sharp in practice. What else would they put out? But both of these teams, the Packers and the Eagles, have quarterbacks that are, I'm going to say, at least not 100%. I don't know if that's affected the line at all. If you've seen any movement during the week, it seems to have stabilized at 4.5. But Hurts is going to play. Who do you like? Eagles and Packers, and how much impact has those quarterback injuries had on this line?
Yeah, we opened it at 4, Charlie. It's up to 4.5. I mean, the Eagles are the better team, if you ask me, especially with the Watson injury and, like you said, Jordan Love a little banged up. The Eagles have this phenomenal Saquon Barkley that they could lean on, and he could possibly control the game. Not that Jacobs is that much of a downgrade on the Packers side of the ball, but you're going into Philadelphia. That's a raucous atmosphere, especially during playoff time. And, as long as Jalen Hurts is healthy, Philadelphia really wants to make a statement here. They want to prove that, Detroit isn't the top dog in the NFC leading into these playoffs. But, they have a lot of winning to do. They have to remain healthy. They have to overcome. Sometimes Sirianni starts calling a whacked-out game. And, it definitely could become a factor. But LaFleur isn't much better, I'll be honest with you. All the starters out there started to get banged up and crushed last week. You limp into the playoffs. I like the Eagles a lot in this game, I'll be honest with you, not just because I'm a Cowboy guy and they ran the table, basically, other than Washington in the NFC East. But Philadelphia looks strong, Charlie.
Well, let me ask you, a Cowboy fan, about another NFC East team, because there's going to be a lot of eyeballs down here in Baton Rouge on the Commanders-Bucks game on Sunday night because of Jaden Daniels and the great rookie year that he's had. Give me an idea about how that action looks like. This line has been pretty stable at 3 most of the week, but you tell me if that's different. And what kind of shot do you give Jaden Daniels, rookie quarterback on the road, one of 2, opening their career as a playoff quarterback?
Yeah, great two-way money on this game, Charlie. You could see it. It's just holding at 3, and it's holding, at 3 the whole week so far. So we're going to see if it starts to turn a little bit. I mean, we did open the game at 51. It's down to 49. Here's a statement I'm going to make. Jaden Daniels has been phenomenal. The kid is tremendously talented. And here's the scenario, Charlie. if the Dallas Cowboys a few weeks back could beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a focal playoff drive, the Washington Commanders could beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think Baker Mayfield's a little overrated. I think they were just trying to get Evans the ball last week. It seemed like, not a singular, achievement type of team. I know they're pretty well coached. I mean, they still have that lineage from when Brady was there, some of those coaches, but I definitely think the Commanders could win this game. I'll take a field goal all day. I'm not sold on Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield. You saw Dallas come in and, beat them straight up when they needed the game, and I think that Washington will come in, and they're going to be very impressive with no pressure, maybe pressure on the rookie, but the rest of the team going in as an underdog has a tremendous chance, and like I said, tremendous two-way action. Ticket count is nearly even, as well as the money in this matchup in Tampa at 5 o'clock on Sunday night.
All right, we got about a minute, maybe a little over a minute to go. Give me what you like on the ice tonight. Big card in the NHL tonight.
Yeah, huge card. And, I'm going to go back to the New Jersey Devils tonight. You're seeing Markstrom be, even though Shesterkin is returning, I believe tonight for the Rangers, you see that Devils and Markstrom have a fabulous record, 25-15 this season. Rangers have disappointed the whole year. It's like night and day. The Devils are a much, much better team, in my opinion, and they're playing really, really strong hockey right now. The Vegas Golden Knights, I mean, unbelievable. Outside of the Montreal Canadiens, the other hottest team in the NHL, beating them, they have done nothing wrong. The Vegas Golden Knights are a juggernaut right now, and I think you're getting a tremendous discount at -170 at T-Mobile Arena tonight. Playing the New York Islanders, another team, Patrick Roy, still trying to get the right formula there. They've been banged up, especially early in the season. Vegas is starting to get really healthy now. Mark Stone is playing at a tremendous level. Jack Eichel, all these guys, you have just a great chemistry, and it reminds me of the team that won the Stanley Cup a couple of years ago. I would even go on a limb and lay the puck line in this game. They seem to get those late goals, Charlie. It's amazing that they constantly get those empty net goals. I think they're definitely a play tonight. And let's stick with the Tampa Bay Lightning, a super team at home. I mean, they're just unbelievable. 21-15-1, playing at a top level. Vasilevsky is still playing well. Kucherov, all these guys, they're just so phenomenal. With the loss of Steven Stamkos, they're still at a top level in the Eastern Conference. So we got a three-prong attack tonight, Charlie. We're going with Devils, Lightning, and the Vegas Golden Knights.
Kaluch, you're the best, man. We appreciate it. Enjoy the big weekend, the 5-day weekend for college and pro football in the playoffs, and we'll look to you next week. Thanks a lot.
Love you, Charlie. Thank you for having me on. As
Appreciate
always,
it.
I love my Baton Rouge fans.
Thank you, Kaluch. We're here at Snow Seafood and Steak. Thursday lunch special include the chicken piccata and the taco salad, fried barbecue shrimp and grits, tamara, and the blackened shrimp citrus salad here at Airline Highway at 74. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
United Community Bank, the local way to bank big with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow. We've been serving the people of Southern Louisiana for over 50 years, including their newest branch at Burbank and Bluebonnet. Our great team at United Community Bank, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Prentice Wilkes, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. You know, running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you're a partner. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Michael Cobble sitting in with us today here at Snow Seafood and Steak. Mike, Notre Dame's got the flu?
Yeah, apparently Tyler Horka, who writes for On3.com, covers the Irish, says that the flu is going around the Notre Dame locker room. He said that it's mostly backup players and special teamers, but of course that's probably what you say when you cover the team. Who knows how bad that can be, but that can be an issue. We've seen it in the past, certainly with LSU.
Lousy time for a fever.
It'll be an interesting 24 hours of pushing fluids and some pain medication, I guess, for some of these guys, and we'll see if they can battle through it. Hey, some people rise the occasion when they have the flu, right?
That's true. One Bulls guard comes to mind. Who you like today?
I like the Irish in this one. Actually, I just feel like they're playing with a lot of confidence, playing with a lot of swagger, I guess, if you will, and belief in themselves, and they looked good. Obviously, the last time out, not to say that Penn State didn't, but just it's an interesting Final Four for us as far as who you want to win, who you think will win. I feel like Ohio State probably does the least amount of damage, if they get the national championship.
They were going to be good anyway.
Overall, right? Yeah, I mean they're kind of a consistent team, but you don't want – at least I don't want Texas jumping up and winning the whole darn thing in their first year in the conference. I think they'd be insufferable. They probably will be as –
yeah, more so than normal.
Yeah, regardless. And, for Brian Kelly's sake, I don't want Notre Dame winning it, because, my God, will the vitriol be awful coming from South Bend.
And they know likey.
They know
on him. Not very much. All right, hour number 2 here. We're at Snow's Seafood and Steak on Airline Highway at 74 in Gonzales. Hour number 2 straight ahead, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Snow's. Come on out and get a terrific lunch here with us. We're inside today. A lot of times we're patio diners here. We like that, but a little chilly today, although it is climate controlled out there. Chicken piccata and taco salad, your specials today. Tomorrow, the fried barbecue shrimp, which is absolutely phenomenal. Over grits with the creamy Parmesan grits with that New Orleans barbecue sauce, and the blackened shrimp salad, citrus salad, also on special. Tomorrow, as we get towards the weekend, let's bring in Matt Humans from VSiN as we talk about the playoff games in both the college and the NFL. Matt, how are you?
Annie, I just woke up about 15 minutes ago, and you're talking about fried barbecue shrimp and all this good food. Now I'm thinking about breakfast. Yeah.
That's why we put the grits with the barbecue shrimp. That's what makes it a breakfast meal. We're very versatile down here with our food, Matt. All right, you got 5 days of games. I'm going to kind of go dealer's choice here with you. You got two college games and 6 pro games. I'll let you go on what you like the best.
What I like the best, that's a great question, because I'm not really sure what I like the best at this point, but let's start to talk about tonight's game, Notre Dame, Penn State, and I don't play college football teasers. I don't think I played one the entire season, but I played one here in the semis, and I played a 6.5-point teaser where I got Penn State +8 and Ohio State +1, and I've got Notre Dame at 10-1 and 12-1 to win the college football playoff, but I'm really concerned about their offense, Andy, because you watched it last week in Sugar Bowl. Riley Leonard, 24 pass attempts for 90 yards with a long completion of 14. He had 80 yards rushing. Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame's stud running back, got a bad knee. I'm not sure how effective he's going to be. He's an explosive playmaker, an NFL running back. But Notre Dame just doesn't produce many explosive plays at all. So far, they've had a 98-yard run by Love against Indiana and a 98-yard kickoff return last week against Georgia. Other than that, not much. This team's got to win games with defense, special teams, a kicker who was on the money against Georgia, and they don't play with a large margin for error. On the flip side, I think Penn State's got more offensive potential with the running back duo of Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. You've got one of the top tight ends in college football. Drew Allers, an improving quarterback. I think that, he's been a little bit inconsistent. He's got his critics, but he's also played pretty well and I think played better in big games this year than he did a year ago. And with Abdul Carter back, Penn State's got, an elite defense, maybe not quite as good as Notre Dame's, but close. So I think if the Irish win this game, it's going to be by a narrow margin. And obviously the line is 1.5, and so it's not going out on a limb. But I just can't see Notre Dame really winning this game by double digits, unless Penn State really finds a way to screw it up. And James Franklin is always capable of screwing up big games. But I would say it's going to be Notre Dame by a field goal, 4 or 6 at the most, if the Irish even win the game. I think it's kind of a toss-up game. What's your opinion on it?
You touched on it at the end. I'm worried about. I'm on Penn State. I'm a touch worried about getting James Franklin. Okay, in this game. Notre Dame won the Sugar Bowl. Why? They had a big drop for Georgia that would have set them up inside the 20. They had a 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. It was pushed back to the 26 because some yo-yo on the sideline got in the referee's way. They get they miss a blindside block when Kirby Smart decides to push the action with 40 seconds to go in the first half. That cost them a score, and then the kickoff return. I understand Notre Dame made these plays, but to me, they were bigger Georgia screw-ups than they were Notre Dame making plays. Maybe that's not fair, but that's the way I felt watching the game. And all of this was against a backup quarterback. So my thinking is if Penn State doesn't throw up on themselves, I've seen them in big games against Ohio State and against Oregon. Those were one-score games. They didn't win, but they didn't get demolished either. So as long as Penn State doesn't do what Georgia did and really kind of hand a handful of big plays to the Irish, I think they win. But I got enough of a sample size with James Franklin to know that they've done just that in some games in the past. Not necessarily this year, but in some games in the past. So I'm on the Nittany Lions with you, and I hope that there's not that big screw up that ends up costing them a one-score game.
Yeah. I hear you. I mean, that's my one concern, too, because Notre Dame got pretty lucky with some of the breaks in the Georgia game. And I'm not even going to include the quarterback because I thought Gunnar Stockton actually played pretty well. He passed for 234 yards, no picks. And I heard somebody say, well, Notre Dame beat their backup quarterback. Hey, I think Stockton, you could say, might have played better than Carson Beck would have played. Don't forget that's Carson Beck who threw three picks in the win against Texas and Austin. So it's not like Beck was setting the world on fire. So I thought Stockton was okay. In the other game, it's just hard to envision Ohio State losing. And, the Buckeyes, I think, have got back. They got their swagger back. They're back to their identity, which is get the ball to your playmakers in space. You're talking about Jeremiah Smith, Mika Ibuka, Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins. You got so many weapons on that offense. And I really feel like Ryan Day and Chip Kelly got psyched out by Michigan. And, hey, we have to be tougher than Michigan. We got to play bully ball. We got to play caveman football. We're going to run the ball between the guards 19 times for 18 yards. Played right into Michigan's hands. And then the last couple games against Tennessee and Oregon, you can see how explosive this Ohio State offense can be. I don't think Quinn Ewers has enough playmakers to trade shots for 4 quarters necessarily with Will Howard and this Ohio State offense. And I do think the Texas defense has been a little bit overrated because Texas didn't have to play the toughest of the SEC schedules. And if you go back and look at let's say the last 2 games in the playoffs, Clemson totaled 412 yards, and Kate Klubnik passed for about 360. And then you had last week against Arizona State. The Sun Devils outgained the Longhorns 510 to 375 in that game. And, obviously Sam Levitt and Kate Klubnik have both passed for 300 yards or more against this Texas defense. I don't think the Longhorns defense is as elite as a lot of people have cracked it up to be this season, or hyped it up to be, and I just have a hard time seeing the Longhorns pulling off this upset. So actually, I laid the number here. I played Ohio State minus 230 to win the game. I actually got Ohio State at plus 115 to win the championship, and I've got that teaser with Penn State plus 8 and Ohio State plus 1, which is the way I played it. I mean, I think the Buckeyes are going to have to really screw up this game for Texas to win it. Also, the Longhorns got to be concerned about their kicker, Burt Auburn, who I don't think they want to trot out there. If Sark gets aggressive, he's got a better shot to win this game. Don't settle for field goal attempts and get aggressive, and I think you got a better shot, but I still think Ohio State advances.
I'm with you on the Buckeyes, too. I think there's only one person in that arena that can get Ohio State beat on Friday night, and it's Chip Kelly. It's not Will Howard. It's Chip Kelly. I look at the 2 games where Howard played his poorest. and they were Michigan and Nebraska. And they lost the Michigan game, of course. They were in a dogfight with Nebraska, which they never should have been. And the game against Michigan, where Kelly seemingly didn't have more than 2 plays that involved running outside the A-gaps, completely keeps Michigan in the game. And then against Nebraska, they throw the ball 16 times against a team that, I'm sorry, doesn't have anybody that can cover Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Ibuka, because nobody can cover those guys, especially Smith. My God, he's the best player left in this tournament. If Kelly doesn't call a game out of the 1970s, I think Ohio State's fine. But I saw him do this twice, and so I'm worried about James Franklin on one side, and I'm worried about Chip Kelly on the other side, because I think I got the better teams here. But I don't know if those coaches, they're capable of making some big mistakes.
No, you're right. And I've said I think Chip Kelly's the most to blame for that Michigan loss. And a lot of people think, over the past several years, when you think of Chip Kelly, the perception is a wide open, high-scoring offense. He's not a wide-open offensive coach. He's a run-oriented coach who loves to run the ball. And unfortunately, he loves to run the ball too much sometimes. I'm all for running, but I think sometimes you got to use the pass to set up the run. And what Ohio State did against Michigan was some of the dumbest game planning I've ever seen in college football. And you got to pin most of that on Chip Kelly and some of it on Ryan Day. Anyway, hopefully it goes our way, Hanny, and then we move on to the NFL playoffs.
Can I say one thing about? Can I say before I let you before go into the NFL? You said the dumbest game planning in a big game. Okay, those are big words around here, because we watched the 2011 national championship game, which will go down. LSU's game plan against Alabama in the Superdome as the worst offensive game plan in the history of the sport. So everything else pales in comparison to that. But, yeah, it was pretty bad. Okay, now we can move on. I had to say, but my audience will kill me to say, no, this is not the worst offensive game plan ever in the history of the sport was on January 9th, 2011. This one, everything else is second place.
Is that the game that Alabama shut out LSU and the Tigers barely crossed midfield? Les Miles
at the very
2-week vacation before the game.
At the very end, I stayed for every bit of the 60 minutes, and if people say why, and I said because I wanted to see if they would ever cross midfield. They finally did near the end, and I wanted to see if he was going to put Jarrett Lee in the game, which he didn't. So I stayed till the bitter end. That was a bad.
You put him in to take a knee. Don't you remember that?
No, he didn't. That was against Georgia.
Oh, was that?
That was against Georgia. No. Believe me, Mike. I was there the whole stinking time that night. Sorry to bring up a bad memory. All right, man. Let's go.
13 years ago to the day, Conan tweeted out something about
January 9th. That's times. Why I was remembering that this morning. All right, man. Let's take a look. What's your favorite NFL game or two here in the playoff wildcard weekend?
Well, I kind of like the Chargers laying 2.5 at Houston, and the Texans have just been out of sorts pretty much the entire season. I don't really see them getting their act together here against the Jim Harbaugh coach team that's rolling in with a lot of confidence, got 2 healthy running backs, a better quarterback, and I like the way the Chargers played late in the season. So, Harbaugh's building this Chargers team. We talked about this around the draft when he took Joe Alt, number 5 from Notre Dame. He's trying to build this Chargers team in the image of what he did at Michigan with a dominant offensive line where everything feeds off the running game. This Chargers defense has been a lot better all season than people thought it could be with limited returning personnel. I believe in this team. It was my biggest NFL season win total bet was Chargers over 8.5, and I'm going to play the Chargers because there's still a few books out there that you can lay 2.5. I wouldn't lay the full 3, but I would lay 2.5 and expect the Chargers to squeak one out. This is not the Chargers of the past 10 or 20 years where they find ways to lose these games. You remember the playoff game against the Jaguars a couple years ago when the Chargers were up, 27-0, and Brandon Staley found a way to lose that game?
I do. I was on the Jaguars. I felt very, very fortunate that night that Brandon Staley was on the other sideline. Now, big of a social goofball as he is, Harbaugh's a great coach. I mean, he really is. You have to give him his due, and he's toughened up that roster is the term I would use. And he has made Justin Herbert. I realize Herbert's healthy for the first time in probably a while, but man, when you go through an entire season and you go for almost 4,000 yards and you only throw 3 picks, Herbert's operating at a high level now. So I could see the Chargers. The Texans. It seems like they was sort of the best of a bad division, and just sort of, I don't want to say by default, because you got to win 10 games in the NFL. That ain't easy, but it was a drop off. I thought it was a sophomore slump for C.J. Stroud. I'm a big DeMeco Ryans fan, but they just weren't as good this year in the regular season, I thought, as they were a year ago. We'll see if they can turn that around. Anything on the Sunday or Monday night game that you like?
Yeah, and I'm with you. I like DeMeco Ryans, too. I just think it's one of those seasons where regression set in. A lot of things are going wrong for the Texans. And I don't think they can flip a switch and get it right in this game, or at least I'm questioning if they can. In the first round of the college football playoffs, we have blowouts, right? A lot of people complaining, these games sucked, wanted some great games and didn't get them. Well, a lot of times, the first round, wild card round of the NFL playoffs, you get a lot of blowouts, too. And I would think the Bills got a pretty good shot to blow out the Broncos. I did play the Bills at -2.5 on a teaser this week. I teased the Bills down to -2.5, the Rams up to +7.5. That was one of the first. I just can't see Bo Nix and the Broncos rolling into Buffalo and beating Josh Allen in a game like this. And, look, I don't think this Broncos team's a big fraud like some people do. I think they're relatively legit, but I just can't see the Broncos winning a game like this on the road that's going to mean so much to Allen and the Bills. And let's be real, last year C.J. Stroud and the Texans went to Baltimore and got beat by double digits, right? That's typically what happens to rookie quarterbacks when they go on the road, and all the trends support that. I'm not behind the Packers. I've said pretty much since the preseason that I think when the betting public was all over the Packers bandwagon, because what happened last year in the playoffs, that wasn't going to happen for Green Bay this year, and I still don't think it is. If, believe it or not, a blocked field goal in Chicago away from going 0-6 in the NFC North. So you're going to tell me that a Packers team that's 1-5 in the division really hasn't put it all together this season. It's going to go to Philadelphia and beat Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. I don't see that happening. I like Philadelphia a little bit that game, and in fact, I got Philadelphia 16-1 to win the Super Bowl, and had the Eagles to win the NFC East. That team's been good to me. I'm gonna stick with the Eagles. And what's the other game Saturday night?
The Sunday night, Commanders Bucks is the Sunday night game.
Yeah, I don't have a good read on that one. I've been a big Jaden Daniels fan all season. I'd love to see Daniels go to Tampa and pull off that upset. I kind of lean to the Commanders getting the points, but again, we're talking about rookie quarterback on the road in the playoffs, and that Washington defense has got some issues, too. I wasn't crazy about the way the Buccaneers finished the season. They've got some problems on both sides of the ball, too. That's not a game I really have an opinion. I do like the Rams. I think the Vikings have put a lot into their last 2 games, and they look terrible Sunday night against the Lions. Now, a lot of that had to do with the Detroit defense really stepping up, playing a lot better than it had in previous weeks. We saw the old Sam Darnold show up again Sunday night in Detroit, and you got to wonder if he's got that doubt in the back of his mind again. He was hesitant to pull the trigger when he had a couple of wide open receivers around the goal line. He was not reading defenses, making poor throws, missing open receivers. I felt like the Vikings got exposed, and I like the Rams. I think Sean McVay knew what he was doing, I guess, when he played for the situation in the playoffs. He rested Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. I love Jared Verse, rookie from Florida State, who's leading that defense. I think the Rams got some upside here. So Rams one play I definitely like this weekend.
Matt, we always appreciate your time. Enjoy what's going to be 5 fabulous days of football, we hope. And we'll talk to you next week. We'll get you some. We'll see if we can ship you some of these barbecue shrimp out there. We'll see if we can get them out of the kitchen, ship them to you.
That sounds so good. I might just have to come down there one of these weeks.
You got an open invite. Come on down. We'd love to have you.
Andy, I remember the worst game plan ever in a big game was LSU, and then Ohio State was number 2. Gotcha.
Yes, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Matt Humans from VEASAN. Thanks a lot, man. Have a great weekend. We'll take a break here at Snow Seafood and Steak, Airline Highway in Gonzales, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Windows, doors, siding, and shutters. Relief Windows has it all for you. Your homeowners association require wood windows. We're proud to be the premier gelled wood windows company at Relief Windows. These wooden windows combine the beauty of real wood with high-tech energy efficiency features for all climate zones, specially built for extreme weather conditions here in South Louisiana. Built using RLS wood, gelled windows come with a 20-year general warranty and a lifetime limited warranty against rot and termites, providing years of beauty and minimal maintenance. Sure wish I'd known about these gel windows from Relief Windows at the original construction of my home. Relief Windows and Relief Windows and Relief Windows.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here. Michael Cobble from WBRZ Channel 2 here with us, sitting in today. Mike, big game for the LSU ladies tonight as they go up to Knoxville. They're undefeated. I asked Guy Rabley this question earlier in the week. How good are – because you've seen them a number of times in person. They're good, obviously, because they're undefeated. They've had a couple of close calls. But you hear Kim Mulkey, she knows what she's got and she knows what needs to happen, and she seems a little bit like, I know that we're not where we need to be just yet. We're good, but whether that be point guard or production in the post or whatever.
Second class or third class.
Yeah. Well,
no, I think they're good enough, right? Just good
enough to do what though?
Good enough to do what. Good enough to get by. How about that, right? I think that they're going to get a chance to host. I think they'll make it to the Sweet 16, maybe even make it to the Elite 8, but they don't have the size down low to really compete for a national title or a Final Four or anything. I don't think even Elite 8, to be honest with you. Once they run up against a good team with some interior presence, they're gonna get exploited, and they're gonna have Flage and Michaela and Anissa, perform at a very high level in order to win some of those games. And that's kind of what Kim said. I asked her if she knows what she has, and she didn't really answer the question because I contend that she probably doesn't. Jersey Wolfenberger is a transfer who's talented, but maybe hasn't been tested enough. Aaliyah Del Rosario, I just think is a non-factor. She hasn't really developed into what they wanted.
She came in better shape. I was hopeful that she would be more of an impact player.
Presence. I don't know if it's conditioning or want to. She doesn't. I don't think mean enough, right? And we've seen that. Like Sylvia Fowles, one of the best women's basketball players in LSU history, didn't really develop that toughness until she got to the league. I remember covering her and wanting her to be more dominant and more aggressive and more nasty, right, to play like an offensive lineman. And it just didn't happen for her. And I think Aaliyah's kind of in that same vein. They have a lot of talent. They have some really high-end players. I just don't know that they have the depth that can kind of carry them through. And to your point about what Kim is looking for, she's looking for a point guard. She loves somebody that's going to like move the team and be that field or that floor general that she was. And I don't know that she's found it. She's got a good sixth man coming off the bench, but I don't know that she necessarily has an answer right now. And I think it's a little bit of create your own offense with whomever has the ball.
What's the best, in your opinion, the best option to develop at point guard? Is it Lester? Is it?
I don't.
You've seen him more than I have.
Gilbert. It's probably Kaylin Gilbert. She has the ability to take people off the dribble. She has the ability to get others involved. She probably needs to create for others a little bit better. A lot of times I think she's looking for her own shot. I think last year Poa is a nice piece. She's better on the defensive end, but I don't know that she's dynamic enough for what Kim wants to do. She really wants to get up and run, and she's got some players that can get up and run. But I think that you need to be a little bit more dynamic at the point guard for Kim, and I think Kaylin probably gives her the best opportunity. Jada Richard may be a work in progress, and she may be that in the future. Right now, though, I just feel like they're missing that piece that completes them, because they've got some good stars in Anissa. Anissa Morrow is just incredible to me and doesn't get enough praise for the job that she's done. She's leading the country in rebounding. She got 15 double-doubles this season out of 17 games. So, I mean, like, it's remarkable. She's, I think, 33 points and 15 boards away from reaching 2,500 and 1,500. And there's only 6 players in women's basketball history that have ever done that.
She is a great basketball player that has, for the last 2 years, played with great basketball players that are also dynamic personalities. In Angel, very dominant social media presence, where you can't look at LSU the last 2 years and not talk about Angel Reese. And I feel that way this year about Flau'jae Johnson, that she's just such a dominant presence, okay? And she's a great player too, but if you think about LSU the last 2 years, you thought about Angel Reese, and this year I think if you think about them, you think about Flau'jae. Morrow is just a great player, but I don't think you're going to see her rapping on stage at the big award shows, or
she's not the personality.
No,
right?
and so it's a little bit of a shame that maybe her basketball gets lost because she's been with these dominant personalities. But at the same time, it's also allowed her – look, LSU's a lot better than DePaul was. I mean, she's been able to go a lot deeper into the tournament. So, no, I agree with you. She's a phenomenal basketball player.
I think it's only getting overlooked by the people that aren't watching the games.
That's exactly
the job
right,
that Michaela's doing as well. She looks a lot leaner. She's always had a great stroke, and Kim reminded us this week that she's just a sophomore, and it's kind of crazy to think that, because you feel like this team is a lot more veteran than it probably is, but that bodes well for the future. I would love to see them develop a post in the way that Kim was able to do at Baylor, and it looks like we're at least another year to 2 away from that.
Well, here's the thing. To win a national championship, which is what they're after, if they win the SEC, so be it, but they're after a national championship. You have to be really good, and you got to be a little bit lucky.
Yeah.
And in 2023, they were great, and they were a little bit lucky. They didn't have to play South Carolina, which was a matchup nightmare. So if you don't run into a team that's got, this dominant post player, maybe you get by. Or if you do run into a team like that, maybe that's the game that Williams or Johnson goes for 37, and it has one of those games like Carson did in the national championship game against Iowa. The other thing is that this is the beginning of January. By the beginning of March, they're not going to have Alexis Morris at the point. I get that, but if their point guards are a lot better now than they are or better in March than they are now, which got a really good coach, I suspect that they're going to improve, or that they can get a little bit more out of the post. I'm not expecting them to develop into Sylvia Fowles. That's not fair. But get better between now and then just a little bit of luck. Don't run into that one buzzsaw that can crush you.
Yeah, and that's true of every national championship team. And the thing that I think of, Charlie, is give me more productive minutes. If you're going to be on the floor, give me productive fouls. Give me a good defensive stop every now and again. You don't have to be the star of the team. No one's asking that, but don't be the thing that holds it back. And that they could develop into. But I don't think they have any of the depth that they need there. And if Morrow gets in foul trouble, then I think they're really in trouble, because she does so much of the dirty work. I'm just big on her because, to your point, she's really an unsung hero of this team, doing all the trash man job down there. She's rebounding, she's fighting, she's battling the bigs on other teams, and she gets up and down the court really well too. And for her size and age, that's probably should be commendable as well.
Mulkey got her scrubs going up to Tennessee in case they need her help.
She is a trip, huh? I've never met the woman, but just offering to be there in the delivery room in case she needs an extra hand to hold. And
she really can't tell a joke without taking heat, right?
All right, did you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. So tell people what we're talking about.
Those of you that don't know, somebody that covers South Carolina just responded with like a mind your own business tweet to Kim's talking about delivering the baby for Kim Caldwell, who is the pregnant coach at Tennessee, who I don't think is anywhere near delivery.
I have no idea.
I don't know either, but just looking at her,
Right.
I have a wife. I have a kid. Like, I know what pregnant looks like. Like
Like 9 months pregnant, right?
ready to pop looks
Okay.
like. Yeah. But either way, this woman just really overdid it, and to the point where like Rabelais, retweeted it. But like I even wanted to tweet back at her, and I'm just like, take some of your own advice and just shut up. Like seriously, woman, like get over yourself and your idea that like you just have to protect the brand at Carolina, and they're big in that. And I guess to some degree we get defensive of Kim because much like Les Miles, and as much as you like to crap on him, and certainly deservedly so, you can.
Well, no, there were other things
I
too.
understood what Les was saying.
You spoke less. I used to go to all of those press conferences. Yeah, I learned how to speak less.
I speak Kim. I spoke Ed. And so you get to the point where you understand what they're saying, and you kind of get a little defensive when other people are misconstruing it. But yeah, that was something. So anyway, back to the basketball. A good test tonight. A good test, in the next couple of weeks when they obviously have to go to South Carolina as well. I think you're going to find out what this team is all about. And no, they don't need to win them all to reach their goals. Again, like you said, develop and improve over the course of February so that in March you're hitting your stride and you're peaking, as Skip Bertman used to say.
Don't get into a Twitter war over things like this. It's time in your life you can never get back. Okay, just come to grips with the fact that when it comes to Brian Kelly and Kim Mulkey, there are people that just don't like them.
Yeah.
Okay, plenty of them. Okay, they have made lots of. It's not.
And it's not our job to defend them.
It's not that because they're at LSU. There were plenty of people that didn't like Kim Mulkey and Brian Kelly way before they got here. That's just how that is. Will Wade was the same way. It was like, we don't like you. Okay, fine. Don't like. I go back to the old Steve Spurrier quote. Steve Spurrier spent a lot of time at SEC Media Days going, I think Curly Holman's doing a great job down there. They like your coach. Man, a lot of times that ain't great. Exactly. We'll take a break here at Snow's Seafood and Steak Airline Highway at 74 in Gonzales. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Lofton Staffing Services matches hard workers with the most sought-after employers. So Lofton, you're more than just another employee. We care about your interests and we'll match you with a company that needs your skills. You can complete an application. You can schedule an interview. You can even browse jobs, the comfort of your own home at Lofton.jobs. Lofton also offers an unlimited $100 referral bonus. Lofton Staffing Services. We've been putting people to work since 1979. 924-0200 and Lofton.jobs.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, LouisianaSports.net, 1045ESPN.com. New Hannycast up, the podcast on YouTube with Richard Dixon. We broke down the film of the Texas Bowl, and a lot of guys coming back that you can look forward to. We saw some really positive things in the bowl game. That film breakdown of the All-22 is Hannycast on YouTube. Let's bring in Kenny White now as we take a look at the playoff games in the college Final Four and, of course, the wild card weekend. Kenny, how are you? Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Hanny. I'm doing well. Hope everyone's getting through hashtag Bourbon Street strong. Miss Jimmy. Hopefully, I can talk to him and be back in a couple of weeks. I hope, or maybe even next week.
Yeah, we did get a chance to talk to him a little bit yesterday, and he'll be out probably for a little while, but he's doing better. And thank you for the nice words and the well wishes. Tonight, Notre Dame and Penn State. Tomorrow night, Ohio State and Texas. And then, of course, the 6 games in the NFL. I'll kind of let you steer in the direction of what your favorites are as we look toward the playoffs.
I'm playing both games. The Notre Dame-Penn State game, I bet under. I went under 47. This game did open 50 at Circuit. I just missed that. By the time I got my work done, it was 47 everywhere. But it's down to 45.5. Not sure if that has moved. I thought the buyback mark would be 44, but I was wrong. I think it was 45. So that's about where it's at, 45.5. Both coaches defensive-oriented guys. Both are very conservative offensively, and you can tell that by the quarterback passing stats. Riley Leonard, median throws per game, 25. Drew Aller, 22. These two teams are going to try to run the football. They're going to try to play field position. They're going to wait till the other team makes a mistake. And the history of this series is amazing, that they go back over 100 years the first time they played, but they've only played 19 times in the history of the series, and it's tied 9-9-1. They did have a 12-year run that they played 12 games in a row, and that was when Penn State had their most success, going 8-4 in that run. But these two are the old school powerhouses, and it's great to see them in the NCAA, the College Football Committee. They're going to look good, whoever wins this game and the next game, to get in. But again, I went under here. Couple props that I played Riley Leonard over 49.5 rushing yards. His median on the road this year, he runs a little bit more on the road than he does at home. And he hits 57 yards per game against pretty good defenses. So I think he goes over that. He did it against Georgia. I think he can do it against Penn State. And then Drew Aller, I went over his passing yards. It was 183.5. I have 221 as his median number against some really good defenses on the road, so felt comfortable with that. And I went through our no interception because he's been pretty good at taking care of the football, so that was only minus 106.
Aller only 7 interceptions on this season. He had some big-time throws against Boise State in the playoff quarterfinals. So we'll see what kind of there's a lot of NFL draft talk around him as well. Jimmy and I kind of talked about him as a tease. He's got all of the physical attributes that you want, and you're always kind of left wanting a little bit more. But he certainly played well in the last game. These are kind of the teams of my youth. Kenny, you're growing up in the 70s and 80s. Notre Dame and Penn State were almost always good. And, when I read the stat this morning, I knew it, but it kind of hit you. These teams haven't played for a national championship since the 80s, 86 and 88. So one of them's going to get a shot for the first time in a long time. What say you on Ohio State in Texas?
Very interesting for this game that bad weather in Dallas, that the airports are shut down, and not sure if people from Columbus are going to be able to get in on time if flights are canceled. So this could be a pro-Texas crowd. I was expecting at least 60-40 in Texas-wise, but if those Ohio State people don't get in, this could be 70-30, 80-20, the Texas fans, and you got to give some home field advantage. At that point, I leaned to Texas. I did take 6. This number came down a little bit, but I also played under. It could be a little bit windy there tomorrow night, which may make these guys a little bit more conservative, and it may just make these quarterbacks miss 1 or 2 passes that they normally wouldn't. But great defenses, great offenses. I think that this game is going to be won in the trenches. Whoever can show they are more physical on both lines, I think wins this football game. And Texas had the best education on the lines, winning on the lines by Georgia. And Texas is undefeated against everybody in the country except Georgia.
And that's true, and Georgia's done. So we'll see. Ohio State is still a 6-point favorite where we're looking. All right, Kenny. Any of the games Saturday, Sunday, or the Monday night game stand out to you in Wild Card Week in the NFL?
Yeah, the another weather type of game, Pittsburgh, and I had to go back just to double check it and make sure. But that's Saturday night, 8:00 in Baltimore. It's going to be cold, 32 degrees, but football players don't care about that from Pittsburgh and Baltimore. They probably love it. No wind. This is going to be a high-scoring game. That's the way Baltimore plays. Their median score at home this year, 34-23. And this total we're looking at, 43.5. That median score is 57 points per game for Baltimore. And when you look at Pittsburgh on the road, they are so much more conservative at home. Their defense is better at home. On the road, they lose by a median score of 27-19. That's 46 points. If I just use simple plain averages between the two teams, this total should be in the low 50s. So that's the first play I have. The other one, I like the Vikings. I think they're in a good spot because I always say teams that coming off a loss, they're seeing red a little bit. The Rams lost as well, but the Rams rested all of their players. They expected to lose. They didn't care. Minnesota was playing Detroit to get a much higher seed. I think they would have been the 2 seed if they won. I think Philly would have moved into the 1. But now they're the number 5. So I think they're seeing red. I think they learned a lot about themselves, the adjustments they have to make for this week coming into L.A., and L.A. does not have a good home advantage. The fans are just not loud. They don't cheer. They just sit there and they watch the football game. So I think it's a good spot for Minnesota.
Can you tell them where they can get hooked up with your service and some of the services that you guys are providing?
Thanks, Andy. And I'm here to try to help people win and show them how to handicap and do their own handicapping, so they don't get phone calls from these telemarketing rooms and lose their 401ks because somebody's a great salesman. $25 a month I charge for my power ratings, and that includes every sport. You get NFL, college football, college basketball, NHL. I'm behind on the NBA and trying to catch up, and that's included once I get it caught up. But you get all the main sports, and again, $25 for that. You get the projected final score on every game each day, and that way you see what my line is, you compare it to the betting line, you do your own homework, and you pick some winners and make some money without a salesman trying to sell you air. So KennyWhiteSports.com.
KennyWhiteSports.com. It's okay that you're behind on the NBA. We follow the Pelicans down here. They're behind all the time, so it's okay. No problem.
That's the most injured team in the NBA right now, that's for sure.
5 years running, yeah. Kenny, we appreciate your time. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the games, and we'll talk to you next Thursday. Thanks a bunch.
Thanks, Andy. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
You too. We'll come back and wrap things up here live at Snow's Seafood and Steak Airline at 74 in Gonzales. Live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Chad Reynolds, a Legacy Title, 296-0060 for all of you real estate closings. Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adria Galata, Michael Platt, our great staff at Legacy Title. Buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Here's Chad Reynolds, a Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Snow Seafood and Steak in Gonzales on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And we return here at Snow's Seafood and Steak. Michael Cobble from WBRZ. You guys got a gymnastics coming up this weekend? Sorry, go ahead. Now you're on.
Hey, I know you're not used to this co-host thing right now. So.
Well, it's just I'm used to turning Jimmy down when I'm tired of it. So, sorry, turned you down there for a second.
Yeah, we haven't fought as much as you two tend to do, so that's good. You should bring me on more often. I'm more agreeable to your ideas, right?
The Lockhorns. Sometimes we're like, you guys got gymnastics coming up this weekend?
We do. LSU has a huge meet. In fact, there's a number of meets going on this weekend up in Oklahoma City, but LSU was picked to be in like the prime time spot with really what is a rematch of last year's national championship meet, and it's going to be LSU, Oklahoma, Cal, and Utah going head-to-head in the Sprouts Market quad meet, and it'll be on WBRZ Saturday at 3 o'clock. So in advance of that, I did a little sit-down interview with head coach Jay Clark yesterday. I think we're going to air that tomorrow evening and Saturday morning leading into it. So if you're a gymnastics fan, check it out. Really a great team this year. Some phenomenal freshmen that have really already come in and made an impact, and clearly, the returning seniors that they have and how talented Aaliyah Finnegan is, and Haley Bryant. Haley Bryant looks like she'll be back. She has an elbow injury. I was at practice yesterday with them. She was competing on beam and could potentially compete on floor as well. So some really fun things there with gymnastics, women's basketball we talked about, baseball right around the corner, first pitch banquet coming up next week, and then the season obviously a month behind that. So just a really exciting time. Even though football's done and we don't have the dates on spring football just yet, the LSU's viable enough in all these other sports to keep us working and the interest there.
The expansion of the league, and I talked about this last summer, but now it's here. So what's the biggest impact that Oklahoma Tech's going to be? I was like, Oklahoma's gymnastics team and their softball team. They have dominated. I think between them, I've lost count of how many national championships between those two programs, but it's a lot.
Nearing 20, I would think. And shout out Beth Torina, quietly working behind the scenes. She's really upgraded her roster, got some coaching changes as well as they enter their season. So, hey, just want to say thanks for having me. Happy to sit in, and we certainly wish Jimmy the best and his family, as they kind of progress through this issue that they're dealing with. But thanks for having me, and appreciate being here.
Thanks for coming out here, Mike. And thanks to our hosts here at Snows. We're at Rufino's tomorrow. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.